All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for August 28th, 2025. Roll call, all of the members of the commission are present. That leads us to the next agenda item, which is there anyone willing to approve the minutes from the previous meeting? Moved by Roger, seconded by Paul. Any questions or concerns on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next is a public comment section for tonight's Planning Commission meeting. Remember, public comments must be relevant to the Planning Commission agenda. If there's anyone who'd like to make public comments, you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Is there anyone willing to make public comments? Anyone want to make public comments? Anyone want to make public comments? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move right into the agenda then. So agenda item number 4 is building site and operation plan. Consideration and possible action on a building site and operations plan for proposed data center campus consisting of 4 data center buildings totaling approximately 2.5 million square feet and supporting facilities located on approximately 672 acres of land north of Highland Drive, south of Lake Drive, east of the Ozaki Interurban Trail, and west of Interstate Highway 43. VDC Wisco Realty Investments 1 LLC is the applicant. The project consists of 4 data center buildings with supporting infrastructure and accessory buildings occupying a site approximately 672 acres in area. The Plan Commission is being asked to review the building, site, and operational plans, BSOP, for approval, and the staff recommends approval of the building, site, and operation plan subject to the following conditions: consolidation of all parcels making up the proposed site plan prior to issuance of building permits, including footings and foundations, approval of a site civil plan, building, site, and operational plan approval for the operations center, warehouse, and security gate outbuildings as shown on the attached site plan, approval of all required state and local permits, plans, and applications, and outdoor construction activities shall be between the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Bob.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just a heads up for the commission, I am going to summarize the building and site operational plan and how it meshes with the I-3 zoning standards. I will summarize how it meets the I-3 zoning. And then following my brief summary of the item, I'll have the Vantage team come up and provide additional details on the project. And then from there, we can get into comment and Q&A with the commissioners. Thank you. So real quick, you may have mentioned this is an amended packet. So there was an originally the site plan was that went before the design review board. There's 2 minor change to that. So what we have here on the left in the original site plan is that there was labeled a visitor center, and that was the north entrance to the site and off of Highland Drive. The current site plan that's in your packet and then shown here on the right, that north entrance and now the operations center is now via off of Lake Drive, and then we have the associated change in the interior street layout. That's the most significant change between the original site plan and this amended site plan that you're considering tonight, and it's in your packet. Just a closer shot of it again on the northern side of the complex. We have that visitor center off of Highland, and then it's going off of just south of Lake Drive. And then I think the civils have tightened up since that time. And then what is shown on the original is like a staging pad is now a future utility substation site. And then we have the resulting change in roadwork off of Lake. Real minor issues are just some changes in layout of the detention basins and some really slight changes to that gravel pad that we see in the corner of the site. So just to give you a heads up that we're dealing with that amended site plan with these really two minor differences compared to the site overall, which remains the same. So looking at the rendering of the site looking south, and this is reflective of the amended site plan. And just try for the commissioners, just try to get their arms around the site as what we're looking at. I just thought I would break it down a little bit. So again, looking south.
Bob, did you just ask us to put our arms around the site? Because my brain went to like Hands Across America with the
Figuratively speaking.
Okay, thank you.
It's not out with people, it's hands across America. So anyways, just breaking down the, just the size of the site here. So you have the Interstate 43 that's on your left, on the left of the slide. The interurban trail is on the right of the slide that we see here. And then there is that internal private roadway to serve the 4 complexes making up this project. On the south, we see the connection to Highland Drive, and on the north, again, as I mentioned, that northern entrance to Lake Drive. Highland Drive between Lake, portions of Highland Drive between Lake and the Highland Drive to the south are proposed for a discontinuance or a vacation, and so you essentially have this closed campus. And then breaking down it a little further, there is the arrangement of the facilities that make up the data center complexes. And so they all mimic one another, and it's essentially this arrangement here. We have employee parking that's in the front of the building, and then moving back, we have the front of the building and also the rear of the building is a string of both generators and transformers. Moving back we have the data center building proper, and then behind that are 3 or 4 central utility buildings, and then behind that are 3 to 4 racks of the dry coolers. And then that arrangement mimics itself for the 3 other buildings. And so that is, in a nutshell, that is the arrangement of this project. Just looking at it a little more clearly or a little more differently as taken from the site plan. Again, we see that arrangement of parking, employee parking in the front of the building, the string of transformers and the generators flanking either side of the front and back of the data center building proper, and then behind that are the utility buildings and the dry cooling racks. Getting into a little more specifics with how this project meets the I3 standards, just starting with design standards, and it's in that intent of the standards that we see on the screen here, is that it is want to have a cohesive campus-like setting. In this case, it's a data center campus and not, say, Cambridge. And so the primary and accessory structures shall have complementary materials on all elevations and going for a consistent design approach to just kind of buttress that campus-like intent, in this case, the data center campus. So the elevations that we see on the slide is showing the front of each of the data center buildings. And so this is the front entrance. It's comprised of floor-to-ceiling storefront glazing and then surrounded by or accented by the kind of the vantage blue metal paneling. I think a comparison is if you look at a Chevy dealership, they kind of have that, that utilitarian building, but the entrance has got that surrounding blue metal with the glazing. The rest of this data center building is just that, the data center. And so this segment kind of covers the entire span of the building. We see the gray precast panels. The height of the building rises up to a little over 24 feet. And then on top of that are the acoustic metal screening panels, and the height of those structures are 43 feet. And then just looking at the design and height of that arrangement that I just kind of summarized with data center utility buildings and the dry coolers. Again, we see the data center building proper. The parapet height is a little over 26 feet. It does rise a few more feet to the peak, and then 43 feet at the top of the acoustic paneling. Principal building height in I3 is 65 feet. So the data center as a principal structure is well before that. The principal height of accessory buildings is 35 feet, and that is what the utility building height is. And then as far as the accessory mechanicals, both the tanks, which are approximately 50 or so feet, and also the top of the dry coolers, which is 65 feet, I consider this to be accessory mechanical structures. And if you note in my report, the Plan Commission, per the zoning code, has the ability to deem mechanicals exempt from height exceptions. More specifically, the Plan Commission can make a determination if these structures are considered necessary mechanical appurtenances. And then if the commission agrees with my recommendation, the simple approval of the building and site plan will take into consideration the exempt height of these accessory mechanicals and be able to permit them as part of the approval. So moving on real quick to the different other sections of the I-3 with landscaping. The I-3 landscaping is primarily centered around screening and buffering from the public view. In this case, berms are a minimum of 8 feet high, and then there's a substantial native woodland restoration on and around those berms. So here is an illustration of the berming along both Lake and I-43. And then looking at the site as a whole, we see the landscaping plan, both with the berming, the street tree plantings, and then along with the 3 different types of meadow mixes that we see in both the light green and the yellow and the light blue, along with a lawn mix that are around the buildings and parking areas proper. All told, there are planned for 2,643 trees. That's 300 additional more trees than in the original submitted site plan. So moving on to lighting, the project plans either meet or exceed the I-3 standards. In this case, the requirement of I-3 is there's a 0.3-foot candles of light at any property line, nothing more than that. In this case, they are meeting or exceeding it at 0. The exclusion, of course, is the driveway entrances. The color temperature of the light fixtures cannot be more than 3,000 Kelvin, and that is met. And just as real quick, a 3,000 Kelvin bulb is more of a warmer, or the old oranger color light, rather than the colder lights colors that we see from, say, the street lights and some of our household new LED lights. All fixtures have full cutoffs to prevent vertical light leakage going vertical into the night sky. They all have full shielding. There is no proposed accent or architectural lighting to reduce any additional light. And then one more is light pole fixtures within 300 feet of property line are reduced to 18 feet, whereas 30 feet is the standard. So that is a summary of both site design and the I-3 standards. And so with that, as the mayor noted, I think between the building design, the design board recommendation, and the meeting of the I-3 standards, along with my recommendations for this, staff does recommend approval of the building and site plan. And so with that, I would like to invite the Vantage team to come up and give the commission, and the public filling in a lot more details from kind of this base summary of zoning.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ravi Mitar. I'm the Director of Development at Vantage for North America. I'll be accompanied in this presentation by Chris Welsh, our Director for Pre-Construction North America, and Emily Bacchus, our Director for Sustainability in North America. First of all, we would like to thank the Common Council, the Mayor, the members of the Planning Commission, and members of the public for allowing us to this application for BSOP covers our data center campus that is consistent with the I3 zoning district. It is also designed to meet our customers' requirements. Our campus will be served by 1.3 gigawatts of utility power, out of which 70% of the generation resources will be coming from clean energy resources. Our campus design is intended to be self-contained within 672 acres and will have 3.2 million square feet of building coverage comprised of data center buildings, office spaces, warehouses, and utility buildings. I'm wanting to stop on our terming for self-contained. Within our philosophy, we are wanting our development to blend in well within the area and hence have deliberately designed our site plan to ensure that our buildings do not stand out from our intended 672 acres. The features that we are including are supported by 8-foot landscape berming, as well as building setback in excess of 300 feet. We are also ensuring to preserve and enhance as many natural features within the 672 acres. We are also effectively reducing our impervious surfaces to the maximum feasible and are also wanting to preserve the linkage to the Ozaukee County Interurban Trail. I'm wanting to take a few minutes to provide an overview of Vantage's acquisition in the area in light of the 672-acre development. And so, specific to the 1,600 acres that Vantage is acquiring, Vantage has indeed acquired the rights to purchasing the land, and by that must honor the closing of acquisition on 55 individual parcels, along with honoring terms and conditions set with individual owners of these parcels, equally respecting occupancy conditions, farming rights on these parcels, as well as completing the entitlement and rezoning within the earlier set target schedule for rezonings. What we would like to highlight is, as part of our effort to inform our acquisition, comprehensive environmental and physical due diligence has been completed to inform not only the purchase of 1,644 acres, but as well as the design of our 672-acre site plan. What we are listing in this slide is a list of standard studies and evaluations that are done at Vantage for any development that's evaluated across North America, and has most certainly been done as we were evaluating this development. I'm also wanting to share that the conclusion of these studies has greatly informed our design of the 672-acre campus to the level of minimizing environmental impact, minimizing or not affecting, not straining existing resources in the region, including water, as well as incorporating sustainability features. And with that, I'm wanting our Director of Sustainability to maybe provide a few sustainability highlights of the campus.
Thanks, Ruby. I'm really excited to share a few of the sustainability highlights that we've been working so hard on in our comprehensive sustainability plan for this campus. Just a few of those things include, we've really focused on the layout of the buildings, the roads, and the parking areas to ensure that we are minimizing our wetland impact, only impacting a very, very small area of the wetlands that are on the site. We are also undertaking a really comprehensive biodiversity effort. And so as part of that, that will be both protecting existing natural areas as well as enhancing the landscape by returning previously farmed agriculture areas to natural prairies, forests and such. And this will also become supportive habitat for the protected rusty patch bumblebee species, which is in the Port Washington area. The building design itself is highly water efficient. And my colleague Chris will go into some more details on that. But the primary uses for water in the data center are the same as water uses for any business. So cleaning, restrooms and such that our domestic water usage on a peak day is equivalent to about 65 homes. The way we're able to do that is that we have a closed loop cooling design, as opposed to the design of some other data centers which evaporate water every day. The water is recycled continuously throughout the building. And one additional highlight here is that our design includes far fewer backup generators than most typical data centers. And that it helps protect our air as well as reduce noise during power outages when we need to use those generators. For the water piece, we are contracting with the city for available water. We do not require any additional water withdrawal from Lake Michigan. The power that we'll be using will be completely paid for by Vantage. There will be no additional costs to other ratepayers, to other citizens in this community. We're funding a build out of a significant amount of new renewable generation, over 1,900 megawatts. And 70% of that will be used to power the data center, and 30% of that renewable energy will be for all users of the electricity system to enjoy the benefits of that new renewable energy. And now I'm going to hand it over to Chris to talk a little bit more on details of the campus.
First of all, thank you guys for having us tonight. I've seen a few of you guys before in planning commission meetings. Happy to be here formally tonight. Thank you to Ruby and Emily for the introductions. Really what they're doing is laying out, why we decided to go with the designs we did on this campus, giving you the layout for the site. And now what we're going to talk a little bit about is why we chose the buildings we did to fit into the mix for both the community needs and the site conditions. So what you see here on figure right is the entirety of the campus consisting of project 1 and 2 of our south phase of the development, which is currently called the campus. In the dark outlined area, you will see the disturbance area, or what we're calling the construction area, that'll be used primarily for physical infrastructure improvements. And then inside of that fence line, you're going to see the permanently developed acreage. So the disturbance area currently is a little bit less than 672 acres, with the permanently developed acreage of 465 acres. At a high level for utility use, as my colleagues mentioned, we'll be contracting for 1.3 gigawatts of grid utility. And from a cooling and water perspective, the average daily peak will be around 22,000 gallons or less per day. That's the equivalent of 65 homes. And where that water comes from and what we're using it for is what you would see in your home. Spigots, hose bibs, your sinks, your restrooms, and some cooling items. So offices, corridors, but really the primary cooling for the data center is a closed loop water cooled chilled system. And what that means is once you charge the system or add water to it, during operation, you do not need to consume or discharge any water from the system, meaning it's zero water use during operation. This is not only a unique design for this market because we saw the needs for limited water availability at the utility level, but it's something that Vantage has a standard around in North America, right? We want to be good corporate citizens to the community. We want to make sure we're not impacting natural resources like Lake Michigan. With that being said, Vantage will not be performing, installing, or contracting any private utilities to withdraw or discharge water directly to Lake Michigan. Beyond that, what you'll see is the 2 projects that we are submitting for plan approval at Madison. Project 1 consists of 3 data center buildings, including an operations center and a warehouse. And the 4th building at 6 o'clock in the southwest corner is part of Project 2. We plan to start the projects in 2025 and complete it by the first half of 2029. Including views that Bob already mentioned, so I won't go through them at length, but here is the facade of a typical entrance to one of the 4 buildings, comprised of the Vantage Blue Eyebrow, which is made of metal panel, precast facade systems, glazing storefront at the entrance and security center, as well as rooftop dunnage platform for air-cooled chillers in the closed-loop system for one of the cooling plants, surrounded by visual screening and architectural elements. Here's a section or a profile view east to west of the campus with the data center building on the top figure plan left, the central utility plant building showing 35 feet in the center with water tanks adjacent, as well as the mechanical accessory dry cooler plan right. renderings from the southwest corner showing our data center. As somebody who gets to do this nationally quite a bit, I take a little bit of pride in our buildings and our campuses and how they look. I would say when we look at putting data centers in markets, we try to be conscious of what the community wants or needs. Sometimes you want to stand out and put a 4-story building with a bunch of glazing on the side to meet the community. We didn't feel that was appropriate here, right? We want to blend in. So we went for a single-story design with dry coolers and water-cooled chillers. It's extremely power efficient and extremely water efficient, which we think takes into account the needs of the community. This is a view showing Port Washington in the background, looking from the northeast corner of our 4 facilities. And this represents driving south on I-43 with our 10-year tree growth. As Rabi mentioned, riparian buffers or tree buffers are not only part of the I-3 code, but it's something that we feel is important when we're developing our campuses to make sure that we blend into the surroundings. Here's a representation of 30-year growth on the same trees. Apologies for the requires revision. This is the review from Highland South looking north. It does not require revision, but this is really the interurban trail at Ozaki, at Highland Lane and Highland Drive, looking north at the campus south entrance. 30-year growth followed. And then a typical berm section, again, in following Code I-3, an 8-foot berm in areas that are required, and a typical perimeter fence section as well, showing our 12-foot security fence. Rabi will speak a little bit about noise.
Thank you, Chris. So thank you, Chris, for this great description. Specific to noise, in addition to our robust designs that account for sound mitigation, part of our ongoing studies and diligence and development efforts for any campus, we proceed with a series of studies starting at the diligence level to understand ambient noise in the area, existing ambient noise, and also residences that may be affected by campus noise. That is, and during the development effort, that is supplemented by actual modeling of campus operating conditions to understand whether there's any risk to exceeding the established limits within the city ordinance. And based on these studies, decisions are made to implement a combination of natural or designed for mitigation to ensure that we are always below the limits established within the city ordinance. And Chris will cover light pollution.
So I think I first came up here at the beginning of May, middle of May, and really started engaging a little bit with the residents, the community, the previous landowner. And one of the things we identified early was that there was this common theme of migratory birds being important to the community. I recently took a walk last week out onto the Port Washington Park and saw, as a Washington, D.C. resident, your version of the memorial, which I love that you guys have. But I also noticed there were a lot of birds around and nature trails. And so back when we started this endeavor, late May, we identified a need to be conscious about the light pollution that could come from our sites. Typically, we have shielded fixtures nationally, but this felt like it rose to a higher level. And so we're proud to say that all of our outdoor fixtures will be dark skies rated, which is the highest rating I'm at least aware of as an economics major. Maybe my friend Emily may know one better, but I don't. So dark skies rated exterior fixtures in mind with the migratory bird patterns. And the other element that really stuck out to me when we walked the site was the Ozaki Interurban Trail. You know, being conscious of being a good community member is important to Vantage, not only in this project, but nationally. But specifically when we look at where we're developing against the Ozaki Interurban Trail, we wanted to call out a few things we're conscious of and considering during this development. The first is protecting and enhancing views of the trail by creating visual screens using trees and landscaping, supporting biodiversity in the area, creating more opportunities for trail users to experience native flora and fauna, and also maintaining access throughout the course of construction for residents and visitors. And with that, we'd like to take questions, if there are any.
Commissioners, any questions, clarifications, or concerns that you have? Mr. Ehrlich?
I would like to just say thank you, number one, for kind of going through everything. You answered a lot of my questions in your presentations. I do have one question, and that is about the generators. So are the generators, are they diesel or are they natural gas?
So the generators are diesel. On a typical facility, you would probably have 100, well, let's just talk about it in percentages. We have 10% of a typical generator plant that, for backup generators, than a typical facility would. But they are diesel-backed generators.
Okay, okay. And how often are they tested? Are they once a month, once?
I would have to get with our operations team. They run fairly infrequently, though.
Okay, okay. Oh, okay.
No.
No, that's it for right now. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Ryer?
Couple questions, more technical. The acoustic panels, is that to contain the sound on the top of the building and send it up, or is that to block the sound from the cooling going on in the background?
I'll speak. That's a good question. Those are actually architectural panels currently, but we would consider putting acoustical louvers if we were not able to meet our noise requirements in accordance with the ordinance. But in the case that they are acoustical, they would be permitting noise from exceeding to the property limits, not from reaching to the cooling units.
How does the water cooling system work without evaporation? Curious about that.
That's a good question. By saving billions of gallons of water, we use a heat exchanging system. So both for the plants you see on the roof and for the dry cooler systems, there's a heat exchanging process that probably is a bit dense and uses a lot of terms of art, but I'd be happy to talk you through it in detail. But it is just a heat exchanging system at its basics.
If I may, when I went and saw them, I mean, the roofs look like gigantic car radiators where the pipe's just going through and the air, and it just keeps running through the whole thing. It was kind of nuts to see.
Let's see here. The renewable energy production, you said that you were looking at doing like almost 2,000 megawatts, was it? Is that being built kind of throughout the state in cooperation with the utilities?
Yes, so that is all being built by the utilities. We are not building that energy. We are funding the build out of it. Yes, and in several different locations.
Anything close to here, or is it just kind of projects that were already approved throughout the state?
There's none that are directly adjacent to our site, but I'd have to get back to you on where the exact locations are, but we could provide that.
If I'm not mistaken, those are guarantees from We Energies.
That's correct.
So I can reach out to our local representative to get those details for us. I had a similar question.
Fire suppression, is that something you're relying on the Port Fire Department if something were to happen, or is there kind of like an internal team that you guys have if something were ever to happen?
We have internal fire suppressions that are in kind to our customers' requirements as well as Vantage's requirements that are fairly lengthy. Early smoke detection, very early smoke detection to protect the server rooms as well as typical fire suppression rooms. We will be requiring that or working with the fire chief as we go through this process, both developing the campus during construction and at its end state. But yes, if there is a fire response, we would be looking for the city to respond.
Does the suppression system, so you have a suppression system?
Absolutely.
I would assume it's a dry system. It's not a wet.
We have both. So there's an early pre-action system with nitrogen, and then there's a wet system that follows it.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I have for now.
Okay. Mr. Ehrlich, did you have other questions?
Nope.
Anyone else have questions, thoughts, or concerns? Mr. Strom?
Yep. So just kind of following up on Mike's question on generators, when you test them, do you all fire up at the same time? Is it one at a time? So it's like an all-day process?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the operation sequence for this specific facility, but I can talk in general about how they typically run in North America. So you'll see one turn on in its maintenance cycle as required and then shut off. It's not running for 8 hours. It's not running for 4 hours. It's running at the minimum requirements to meet both emissions limits, but also keep us, under warranty for that unit.
Okay.
And if okay to add to Chris's comments, we typically, once we're in operation, we typically have standard operating procedures in order to test out our generators for operation and maintenance. They've been very successful across North America with deployments even in dense areas and population dense areas. So I will get back with a clear answer on durations and sequences, but we are confident in being able to blend well, I would say, with expectations here.
Yep. You're doing a lot of work on landscaping, landscape improvements, restoration. I guess what are the plans for after everything's planted? Do you have a annual maintenance of the landscape? How does that work?
Yeah, that's very important. Yes, we do have annual maintenance of the landscape, and that's part of how we determine, our budgeting for the project to ensure that we can maintain that landscape. So that includes things like tree pruning. Depending on the meadow type, some of those need a mowing like once a year or every other year. Removing invasive species, activities of that nature to make sure that we maintain the beautiful natural landscape that we create.
And I know your campus is intended to be secure and not open to the public, but do you ever anticipate like an annual, hey, come in, look at our garden, or not? Not going to happen.
We would have to discuss that with our end user. So the customer would be able to dictate that.
I will say, though, that there is a significant portion of the natural areas are outside of the fence line. So folks, from the Ozaki Interurban Trail, it's not the trees and everything would be visible, of course.
All right.
You just want to go deer hunting there, Roger? Or?
Maybe. De-stress after planning commission meetings.
Yeah.
Go sit in the meadow of
I'll
flowers.
walk out there. Other questions or wonderings? Mr. Erlach?
Yeah, so how many trees did you say it was? It was like 1,200 or something like that?
2,300.
2,600? Well, if each tree requires around 20 gallons a week for watering within the first season or two, is that water coming from the public utility? Or where are you sourcing the water for watering trees?
Yeah. So one of the things that our engineers are working through is whether we can do a specific rainwater collection system. It's not something that is a firm plan, but something that we're looking at, so we could reduce the amount of city water that we would use for establishing those trees. However, our landscape plan is to only use irrigation for establishing plants, and long-term it will be a no irrigation landscape.
Okay.
Roger?
A couple more related, like during construction. It's a big site, a lot of contractors. How do you handle cleanup, pickup of garbage, windblown debris, Tyvek sheets or whatever blown around?
I would lean on Tom here, who's one of our directors of construction for the site, but we don't have Tyvek first. But typically on these sites, you have daily cleanup crews, right? And when you think about a regular construction site like I used to manage that are mid-rises, wood construction, it's really hard to get a composite clean crew together. On a campus of this size and scale, you'll have dedicated crews that are contracted to do maintenance and cleanup during the course of construction. So that's how we handle site cleanliness. And, for us at Vantage, it's not just what you're building, but it's how you build it. So prime labor site conditions to attract the best labor is really important for us, and that includes a clean job site.
Okay, and then I think this is my last question. Just going Bob's last recommendation of construction hours of 7 to 7. I guess kind of a point of clarification that I'm asking for from Bob or somebody else. So that's construction equipment. If you have waste haulers coming in, garbage trucks, are they restricted to those hours? Are they going to be able to come in when they need to do their work at their convenience? I mean, I'm anticipating that they would come in at 6 a.m., get their stuff out, clear out, so they're not in the way of construction, I guess.
Yeah, the 7 to 7, I would just, and what goes into that, that's the hours and the days set. But I would kind of give the details over to your team if you, knowing what goes into that.
Yep, so the hours of 7/7 that were discussed really relate to construction on-site operations. So, startup of machinery at 7, stopping machinery at 7. So there will still be some activity that occurs with people either leaving or arriving to site outside of those hours, but that's typically related to the on-site physical construction work.
Okay, and I guess that's kind of where I was going, that I think it's very reasonable for, I mean, you obviously want your employees to show up before 7. Safety meetings, tailgate meetings, grease and oil your equipment. I guess I'm personally not even opposed to starting them up, warming them up, just not moving them. I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but we're just basically talking, I guess my point when I'm reading this, I'm thinking construction equipment, like, as you said, moving between 7 and 7.
That's correct. And typically, in this instance, we're targeting outdoor operations to really limit our impact on the community outside of those hours.
Roger, I wanted to follow up because I was wondering, because of the site location, the distance from, it's not near a neighborhood. And I was actually concerned that 7 to 7 was restrictive. But if that, between, the earlier starts, et cetera. So if that's something that you guys have already agreed to, we'd go with it.
I think it was proposed by the Vantage people, so we said that's fine, but sort of same thoughts. I realize they'll have a lot more construction equipment than farming equipment, but farming activities occur 2 in the morning.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you guys are good with the 12 hours, but because of site location, if you wanted to expand that or even shift it so it had different hours during the summer and the winter because of daylight. But if that's what you guys have agreed to, just because if you want to change that down the road, it's got to come back. And this is kind of the time to set that if that's something you wanted to shift.
Sure, would love to extend those hours. I would think that a 14-hour day would probably be appropriate, if that's something that's amenable to this council. And again, strictly outdoors.
Bob, Mr. Harris, what are your thoughts on that? If it was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
I have no, that's, I don't have any recommendation either way. I think the 7 to 7 was just kind of the generally agreed upon, but you have the, as far as the conditions of approval, you can alter those as part of this approval.
You and Roger work together on this. Your window is going to be the one people knock on if it's an issue. We can claw it back if it becomes a problem, but
actually, to be honest, what hours of operation, I don't get into the details of that. That's more inspections and engineering. I set, what is agreed upon and make sure that's a condition of approval.
Roger, your team. Now it's on you. No, it's not on you, but Bob gave an answer like he's running for mayor, so I want to. I'm comfortable with it, again, because of location, having visited these job sites, seeing those different pieces. And I'm just being playful with Bob, but
Yeah, and I realize that at this point, because we're making this a condition of Plan Commission, would have to come back to Plan Commission. But I would just say, as long as you recognize, if we start hearing a lot of complaints, we're going to come back and say, hey, we have to dial these back. But I'm okay with starting with a 6 to 8 program. I can't say I've ever been on a construction site with 3,000 people. I used to work on a rather large landfill, which might have had 100 people. What does the coming and going of traffic look like? And I know there's talk at, I recall it was Design Review Board of staggering start times and end times, but I don't want to send, basically send a bunch of cars and vehicles out on the road at, 8:15, 8:20 that they're driving through all the neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's a good remark. By adding that additional hour on the front end, it'll allow ourselves to do more of staggered starts and help with that impact on road traffic in the mornings and evenings.
If you did add the extra 2 hours, would that help you finish the project sooner? Or is it just more convenient for people to come and go at different times?
I can't speak to the speed that we would gain from 2 hours a day, but it would certainly help with the vehicle traffic.
And that's what I appreciate, because I drive that intersection every day out of town on the north side, and it's 7:30. It's bonkers. You've got St. John the 23rd kids getting dropped off and stuff. And if that job site was active well before that, and it wasn't interfering with the current existing traffic with Allen Edmonds and everything else, I mean, I would prefer that versus that intersection becoming crazy. Yeah. And I mean, it's a good problem that we're going to face, but if we can mitigate it by allowing them to start a little early, I'd prefer that. So.
And just the one, so I'm assuming you'll have some subcontracted truck haulers, bringing gravel, fill, whatever. They will have the same hour, so they can show up at the gate at 5:30 and wait. I guess we would kind of be expecting the same similar hours.
I would have to get with our contractor to negotiate that, but we can certainly talk about it with you guys.
Bob, within that condition, deliveries are part of that as well?
Well, it is construction, so, I mean, I think there's set hours for traffic, but elsewhere in the municipal code, but it is construction activities
Is what's covered in there? Okay. Any other questions or clarification? Mr. Ehrlich? Nope. You got anybody over here? All right, I just wanted to end then with a couple of quick comments and suggestions. One is, I'm wondering if your team and architectural team could create an aerial scale map of the project. One of the issues that a lot of community members have brought to my attention is when they look at the current view you have, it makes Port Washington look like we're really, really tiny and your project's really, really huge. So almost like a satellite image of 1,900 acres in comparison to our whole city is not that. And I think that would be helpful for us as we're explaining the project. So just a thought for you.
Absolutely, happy to do it.
And then what's the height of VA 11?
VA 11 is a 2-story structure, so approximately 65 feet.
Yeah, and that's the one I visited. So I just wanted to say thank you for being cognizant. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you took our zoning code and you treated our zoning code as the minimums instead of the maximums. And that's something I'm very grateful for. Many developers come here and they see our zoning code as like, well, that's the minimum of what we have to do, and you treated it very different. That's the maximum we have to do. You treated it the opposite. I appreciate the light, the height. I appreciate the landscaping. I really, really do appreciate you exceeding our zoning codes. One thing that I think the community really needs to recognize is when we just had our historic flood again. The headwaters and most of that water is coming from this property. And in talking with engineering and looking at what we were going to build into what we built into the developers agreement, with the restoration of the wetlands on the south side of your property along the southwest side of the property along the bike trail, that's going to help. Your retention ponds are going to help. The fact that all those 50, 75-year-old drain tile systems that are out there that don't work or hook up, that's going to help the city of Port Washington significantly with flood damage, especially down the creek basin. So I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that you have such a significant amount of land that's not being developed, and the green space and the cognition of the fact that it's not that we don't want to see it out there. It's just that we don't want Port Washington to become a canyon of gigantic buildings like we see to our south. So we're very appreciative of that, especially the work off the bike path. I also like the little addition of employee bike path coming onto the property and those different things to support that, because when you put that type of detail into your infrastructure, it implies to us that you're going to support them living in our community, which I really, really appreciate. Or coming down from Belgium. It's a very nice downhill ride from Belgium. And then finally, I also wanted to just say here as we close out, I met a lot of the landowners who sold their property to you, and I just wanted to share, because I don't think there'll be another public opportunity to do this. I'm just really grateful for how kind you were in that process with the landowners. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness, the willing to renegotiate as they were leaving family farmsteads and homesteads. The grace you showed and the empathy you showed in that closing process. You know, when I'm at Piggly Wiggly or downtown, like lots of people talk to me about lots of things, but when I would run into those town residents who are leaving and they would talk about, at the closing, Vantage allowed us to stay longer. At the closing, Vantage allowed us to take this. At the closing. I think that just shows the integrity and the values of your company. And I just wanted to make sure that you heard that publicly, because I appreciate that, because that left a lot of those homeowners and landowners in a really good spot. So with all that flexibility and the different ways this project is coming out, the views, et cetera, a little bit of help for us on the PR front would be greatly appreciated. And then I'm going to make a motion to approve staff recommendations to approve the building site and operations plan subject to the following conditions. Consolidation of all parcels making up the proposed site plan prior to issuance of building permits, including footings and foundation. Approval of site civil plans. The building site and operational plan approval for the operations center, warehouse, and security gate outbuildings as shown on the attached site plan. Approval of all other required state and local permits, plans, and applications. And outdoor construction activity shall be between the hours of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Is there someone willing to make a second?
I will. Second.
Ooh,
That one,
yeah, I'm giving that one to the alderman. Alderman Newmeyer seconded that. Any questions or concerns on the motion or clarification on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move the agenda around here a little bit. The next, we're going to go to a special exemption and possible action on a special exemption. Oh no, wait, I'm moving 5 and 7, right, Bob?
You are moving.
We're going to 8.
9 through 12, you're taking on. now,
Okay.
Just to group the Vantage.
If it is okay with
Items
the
together.
commission, I'm going to go to items 9 through 12, which are 2 annexations and 2 rezonings, so that the other members of our community have a little smaller audience for their other issues. So I'm going to move to item number 9, annexation. Ordinance 2025-24, consideration and possible action on a petition to annex 333.842 acres from the town of Port Washington to the city of Port Washington and assigning a temporary zoning code recommendation of I-3. This is property generally located south of Dixie Road, north of Lake Drive, and west of Interstate Highway 43. VDC Wisco Realty Investments 3 LLC is the applicant. The staff recommendation is to approve the annexation. Sam? I don't know why I got louder there.
I'm back with more annexations and rezones. This one, like always, I'll read the first one, the first annexation, the first rezone. Then if you have any other questions, they're kind of generally applicable. I'll call it the differences between the two a little bit. The applicant requested the Plan Commission consider ordinance or recommending an ordinance approving an annexation petition by unanimous approval for Wisconsin Statute 66.02172, seeking annexation in the city with a temporary zoning designation of I-3 Technology Campus District. Provide a recommendation to the Common Council. The 333.842 acre site comprises multiple tracts of land situated in the town of Port Washington. Primary uses of the properties are agricultural, and there are 18 electors within the site. The town agreed not to contest the city's annexation of this land per development agreement with the city that both parties approved earlier in 2025. The lands contained within the petition relate to the development agreement between the city of Port Washington and Vantage Data Centers Management Company, LLC. Council will consider annexation and temporary zoning for these properties upon your recommendation, and the city staff recommend assigning that temporary zoning designation of I-3 Technology Campus District. The applicant submitted the petition to the Wisconsin Department of Administration for review, and the staff expects that DOA will issue their determination of public interest before the Common Council would consider the final action on this item. They found that all the other annexations have been in the public interest. The Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, or Sewer PAC, will consider a sanitary sewer service amendment for lands generally located south of Lake Drive in September, with final approval from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources following their consideration. City staff and its consulting engineers are currently preparing the information to update the boundary for the lands north of Lake Drive, and that process will take essentially through 2026. The city comprehensive plan designates the area as business park industrial, and the staff recommendation is that we recommend approval of your project. I can answer any other questions you have.
Any questions or concerns?
I was kind of hoping you
Ehrlich.
could read through the legal description.
All right.
It's a long legal description.
Yeah, I'm going to need some
That's a
water.
solid-
I'll come back.
That's a solid planning commission joke that no one would get unless they saw the extreme info in there.
All those parts. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a test of will to read through the packet, but any other real questions? Otherwise, is there someone willing to make a motion to approve the annexation territory?
I'll move to approve and recommend to the council to approve 2025-24 annexing territory to the city of Port Washington.
All right, there's a motion by Mr. Ehrlich. There's a second by Mr. Newmeyer. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to number 10, ordinance 2025-25, consideration and possible action to permanently rezone the 333.842 acres of land to the I3 Technology Campus District to accommodate a proposed data center campus generally located south of Dixie Road, north of Lake Drive, and west of Interstate Highway 43. VDC Wisco Realty Investments LLC 3 is the applicant, and the staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the ordinance and recommend approval to the ordinance to the Common Council. Sam?
So same general areas, the annexation, both the city and the town of Port Washington have long designated the subject area for commercial, business park, and industrial uses as evidenced by both independent studies and the respective comprehensive plans. The Plan Commission, the Common Council amended the city's comprehensive plan for the Area 2 Business Park Industrial in May, in coordination with applications from Cloverleaf Infrastructure preparing preliminary entitlements for the subject properties. Additionally, the city adopted the I3 zoning district regulations, which include data center specific regulations for setbacks, height limits, outdoor lighting, landscaping, and permitted uses that you just used in your site plan approval. The application continues to incorporate the comprehensively planned areas into the city, and it provides the I3 framework against which city staff would review any additional building site and operation plan applications for the campus. Since May, Vantage has taken over the project as the end user to own and operate the data center campus and has continued this entitlement process by submitting this application. Again, they requested the I3 Technology Campus District, and the proposed zoning district allows for data center uses and accessory uses that support those. Due to large-scale nature of the campus, the district requires higher standards for landscaping, lighting, and sound than the typical zoning ordinance. And the city's comprehensive plan contemplates business park and light industrial types of development for the subject properties, including a mix of light industrial office and limited range of retail uses. Traditionally, those uses are located in medium to large-scale industrial or commercial park settings in the I1, I2, or I3 zoning districts. Specific language from the city's comprehensive plan consistent with the proposed amendment includes the following. Desired businesses and industries for the city of Port Washington include the following: businesses and industries needing fresh and abundant water sources, information systems, including data processing. It's from the economic development element of the comprehensive plan. Also from the economic development element, it identifies and encourages desirable uses such as those listed above, and sustainable businesses and job development. From the land use element, it acknowledges keeping the business park type land uses should demand warrant, which coincides with this application. In making its decision, the Plan Commission shall give consideration to satisfy itself as to the following: is the proposed rezoning consistent or generally consistent with the future land use recommendations contained within the comprehensive plan and future land use map? And does the proposed rezoning meet the intent of the proposed zoning districts, for example, single family for zoning for single family land use? The staff recommends that the Plan Commission recommend approval of the ordinance to the Common Council.
Any questions, concerns, or comments on the rezoning recommendation? Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the recommendation? Mr. Strom, is there a second? I'll second. Mr. Ryer seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to item number 11, annexation ordinance 2025-26, consideration and possible action on a petition to annex 59.280 acres from the town of Port Washington to the city of Port Washington and assigning a temporary zoning recommendation of I-3, generally located south of Lake Drive and west of Interstate Highway 43. VDC Wisco Realty Investments 2 LLC is the applicant, and the staff recommends approval to bring it to council. Sam?
So same general outline. This is, as it's south of Lake Drive, is part of that Phase 1 and 2 campus on that south area that you all just talked about. And so this one, the only difference is that it will be moving forward to the Common Council more expedited than the other ones. The Common Council will review this one in mid-September. The other ones will lag into October. The other note here is due to the order that they were submitted, on some of the maps, you can see that it shows the northern area that you just considered, that 330 some acres of land, as part of the city of Port Washington, because they're submitting these kind of sequentially. But because this one is coming before that one in the order that the council would approve them, we'll just get that map updated before that final ordinance is adopted. But everything else is the same.
Any questions or concerns, comments? Is there anyone willing to make a motion on the staff recommendation to send this to council? There's a motion moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to ordinance 2025-27, consideration and possible action to permanently rezone those 59.28 acres of land to I-3 Technology Campus District to accommodate a proposed data center campus generally located south of Lake Drive and west of Interstate 43. Wisco Realty Investments 2 LLC is the applicant. Sam, the recommendation is to recommend it to council. Excuse me.
Yes, recommend approval, same zoning for that same area we just considered. No other notes or updates for this section.
All right, with that, any questions or concerns or comments on that? Otherwise, is there anyone willing to make a motion? Moved by Roger Strom, is there a second? Second by Paul Newmeyer. Any questions or concerns on that? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. That brings us back into the agenda to agenda item number 5, which is a special exemption, consideration and possible action on a special exemption to the city of Port Washington sign code for a proposed monument sign to deviate from electronic message center design and setback standards. 1180 South Spring Street is the address, and Hollander Chocolate is the applicant. Planning Commission is being asked to approve a request for a special exemption from the city sign code to deviate for setback, square footage, and design requirements. The staff recommends approval of the special exemption request for both the requested sign design and 0 setbacks. Eric, I remember when this was the biggest thing we used to talk about. The old days. I was thinking the same thing. Mr. Harris.
Okay. So, as you all know, Hollander Chocolate, I think a couple years ago, has set up shop for its headquarters, and now its world headquarters here in Port Washington in the former dealership site on Spring Street, South Spring Street. And now with much, if not all, of the renovations of that building complete and almost ready to open up some of the portions of the building to the public, Hollander Chocolate is ready to set its monument sign at the front of its property as you enter into the city of Port Washington. Some of you may also know that, 4 years ago, we updated the city sign code specifically regarding LED signs or electronic message center signs and put some additional standards on that. And so with Doug proposing a sign following what is the standard for these types of signs in our code, the design was this. So this was what originally was proposed. The preference from the applicants and Hollander is to have something a little more streamlined, and that's what we see here. So the reason for the special exception is to deviate from what the standard is, and that's was what their sign would look like, to this proposed sign. So that would entail, you know, the shape of the monument sign a little bit wider than the base, and then also the EMC board kind of on the same plane, the same horizontal plane as the main Hollander chocolate logo rather than below that, and also a little larger monument size as a whole. Now, I do want to note that the EMC board that's proposed meets the standard of 12 square feet. And so that is the reason for the special exception. Staff's recommending approval of the special exception because the intent of having that signboard below, say, the sign proper, the logo proper, was really to prevent signs with monument signs and having that EMC board right on top and making that the prominent feature. Also thinking of like a typical monument sign or a school sign, those signboards are, again, they're more diminutive to the standard logo. In this case, I think the intent is still met, trying to avoid having that prominent signboard to be on top of the sign and the most prominent feature. And given that Hollander wishes to, this is they're planting their flag here in Port Washington, I still think it meets the intent of the MC and making sure that that signboard is no larger than the standard. So staff does recommend approval. But I'll leave it to Mr. Podzilny, president, the owner of Hollander. He can give you a little more detail and an intent and what's going on at his business.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, council. Our intent is to do two things with the monument sign. One is to announce our world headquarters, and secondly, as everybody knows, most people know, just to the right of that shot is the Welcome to Port Washington sign. We are literally the first thing you hit when you come into town. And what we wanted to do with that sign is do another Welcome to Port Washington. Bob, if you could show the sign again. We specifically call out on the left Hollander, but on the right, we're talking about Welcome to Port Washington. And there was some debate internally. I think we got the established right. There were 3 or 4 different dates that have been bantered around, but I think established 1848 is it. The purpose of the sign is twofold. It's to announce the hot fudge sundae of the day that we might be serving, but it's also to announce special events that are going on in the city of Port Washington. So our hope is that we can be a good steward and a good citizen and announce fish days and say, fish days, if you want to park, you can catch the shuttle right here in our parking lot. Or if there's another event, just a reminder that that's coming up. So that will not just be streaming hot fudge sundae specials for the week. It will be streaming relevant city events. That's our purpose. And we also, it is our intent long-term to have a pseudo welcome center in our vestibule so that, and we will mention that too, more information, stop in. Obviously, it's twofold. It's one, to educate the tourists and the public when they come into town. But we, of course, wouldn't mind to have people stop in, pull a pamphlet, and then get a coffee or a hot fudge sundae as well. But the purpose sincerely is twofold. It's to do something good for the city, stay in a respectful size, and also advertise our world headquarters.
Yeah. I just wanted to share, I really appreciate that, because if you would have said it's going to show time and temperature, like there's no way. And I've also, you had me at hot fudge sundae of the week. Followed by fish day, I might just fall over in sheer happiness. But I do appreciate that. I really wanted to thank you, and I'm glad that you're here tonight in person, that you would be thoughtful enough in your corporate headquarters to also include a welcome to historic Port Washington. And I appreciate the historic part there, because
You guys, I mean, I'll say this in public. The city of Port Washington has been fantastic. You don't pull punches. You call balls and strikes the way they need to be called. But you've been very good to us, and I tell everybody that. And I couldn't be prouder to have moved our company to this city.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions or concerns on the sign?
If I may jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I did leave one more element out of this special exception, and it was also to include a zero setback for the monument sign. This right-of-way it's rather wide, so if you follow the standard of 10 feet from the right-of-way line in the front of the property, it would be, it would kind of lose the impact of the monument sign. So a zero setback is part of this special exception request as well.
And again, because that's a pretty significant commercial corridor, it's not like it's intruding somebody's front yard or it's going to brighten out their day. So,
It's a pretty good wide state right-of-way.
okay, well then I'm going to move to approve the special exemption with the staff recommendations, including the design and zero setback. Is there someone willing to make a second?
Second. Give it to.
Yeah, we'll give it to Tina. So seconded by Ms. Mock. Is there any questions or concerns on the motion or additions?
No, I would, can I just say that I really appreciate all the work you guys have done. I mean, you took something that was very much a blight and really made it something nice in the neighborhood.
I appreciate that. As I said, it's been a real team effort here, and we're very proud to do it. And we are literally a couple of weeks away from opening. We've been hiring staff for the public components, so those Hot Fudge Sundays are literally a few weeks away.
Just no fish Sundays.
No,
No fish Sundays?
Yeah, well, you fish day and hot fudge Sundays.
Oh, no, that, he's got to spell it with a P-H-I-S-H. And then there's got a little gummies in there, but that's a different story. There is a motion and a second
Now,
on the
that's a good
floor.
idea. Our executive chef is
Losing control.
phenomenal, but I don't know about deep fried cod. So.
I think it's all.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any other questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. And sir, I seriously, very grateful. And, many of us have been around long enough when that place used to be a rarity at Flaherty. And that's a long time ago. But now to know that, you've reinvested in our community, brought your headquarters here, and we will now be defined by, chocolate and great sweet things on the south side. So thank you. Okay, that brings us then to agenda item number 6, minor review, consideration and possible, we are tabling this one, correct, Bob?
Yes, at the request of the applicant.
We'll bring that back in
We're
September.
moving on from this item, and we'll see this in September.
All right, so then agenda item number 7, special exemption, consideration and possible action on a request for a special exemption to allow for approximately 1,104 square foot garage at 733 and 735 North Milwaukee Street. Paul Schneider is the applicant. The subject property is an owner-occupied duplex. The applicants are proposing to construct a detached garage greater in area than is permitted by zoning. Specifically, the proposed garage would be approximately 1,104 square feet in area, whereas 720 feet is permitted. The purpose for the larger size would be to have 4 enclosed parking spaces for both themselves, the owners, and the tenants. The staff recommends approval subject to the following conditions: that the garage will be orientated parallel alongside to the alley. Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a situation, at least with garages, that we have not had before us before. And so this is the subject property on Milwaukee Street. And then so it has a condition where there is a street opening and driveway, but in the same time, it abuts an alley. So currently, the garage is just access via the driveway. And so and this is the alley, this is the alley looking north. And just to provide some context, I think this is like garage special exception 0, bullseye area of the city. So there's been a few in this area. But looking north on the alley, there's a wide spectrum of sizes along this alleyway for these blocks. The property on the left is about, it's about 1,000-footer. It's for a duplex likewise. There's a taller garage, and then there's a mishmash of the standard 200-300 feet to 700, 800, 900 feet. So it's a mishmash of garages. And so what the applicants are proposing is to remove both the existing garage and the existing shed and replace that with the larger garage and oriented, like you see up on the slide, so it can feature both the current driveway access and then also have new access off of the alley again. And this is for a duplex, both for the owners and for the tenants. I might add that I don't think we've had a dedicated duplex ask for a garage special exception. We haven't had many. It may seem like there's been a few, but this is the first one in a year or two. And so, again, it's kind of a novel situation with both the orientation and then the dual access. And so what we have to keep in mind is that with a special exception, there's nothing in the zoning code saying you can't have both an alley and a traditional driveway access. There is no provision in the zoning code that says you have to orient the garage along the alley. But with a special exception, there is precedent set. And so what made me uncomfortable about this arrangement is that it's a larger garage and it's oriented parallel with the abutting properties, with the neighbor properties. You should have a letter in front of you that the applicant submitted from neighbors in support of the project. It's just that my uncomfort level stems from the fact that it would be a precedent, and therefore it wouldn't just be this one. It could possibly allow for this type of approval going forward. But other than that, and then I might also add that, again, this is a duplex, so look at the zoning code, and the zoning code requires two parking spaces per unit, so that's a total of 4. It doesn't require if it's covered or not covered, but I understand the ask for both tenants and owners in this case. So my recommendation is to approve, just go with the traditional orientation of the long side of the garage, parallel with the alley and the approach apron for that alley. That's my recommendation, my summary, but the applicants are here to provide some detail and Q&A with the Plan Commission.
Mr. Harris, I just wanted to start off by saying I appreciate your recommendation. I mean, the homes in the Milwaukee Street area and that development that took place, during World War II and after World War II, those were single-car families at that time. And today, a duplex built anywhere else in town would have space for, the vehicles in that home, so the 4-car piece. I do realize it's going to be a little cramped back there, but I just wanted to comment on that before. I appreciate that consideration. Other questions or concerns on the request for special exemption? Roger?
Do we know how high this garage will be?
I think it'll be around 15 or 18 feet.
Yeah, based on the plans you submitted,
Yeah.
it's the standard.
Yeah.
So there's nothing above it? I mean, it has the normal, there's not a
The
apartment up there? or
pitch
anything?
roof, no, it's
Okay.
it's
Yeah, we would have a gable roof.
gabled
And,
roof. Yeah.
It would be nice to have the pitch a little bit more oriented to the home. So it might get a little taller, but not much.
Okay.
And so I did not see that as an issue for special exception.
Alderman Newmeyer?
Hi, I live down the street from you on Milwaukee Street. So your neighbors are okay, as far as I saw the note, but
Yeah.
everybody's okay with that, so,
Yeah, they don't mind at all.
okay.
And it'll also give them a clearer line of sight to the alley, things happening in the alley.
Right.
And then if you put the building along the alley, then you don't see the alley.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anyone willing to make a motion to accept staff recommendation to allow the approval, subject to the garage being orientated parallel to the alley?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Newmeyer. Is there a second?
Just to clarify that the motion is to have the long side with the alley as opposed to what's proposed in the slide, correct?
Yes.
Alongside. Correct.
Yeah, with the condition that the garage be orientated parallel alongside to the alley. There's a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Mock. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Mr. Newmeyer will want to be over there for the first beer in that giant garage, so that'll be nice soon. You have your Packer party there. You're welcome. Have a good night. Agenda item number 8, real estate plat. Consideration and possible action to approve an amended Wisconsin Department of Transportation real estate plat for the Highway 33 overlay project located on Portview Drive south of State Highway 33 and adjacent to 1329 West Grand Avenue and 1407 West Grand Avenue. Wisconsin Department of Transportation is the applicant. The project is the Planning Commission is being asked to provide a recommendation to the Common Council to approve an amended Wisconsin Department of Transportation real estate plat for the purpose of establishing both a temporary and permanent access easement as part of the State Highway 33 Surface Overlay Project. This is a revision of the real estate plat approved by the Plan Commission in November of 2024. The revision is necessary because a utility line shown on the original plat has been abandoned. The recommendation is to amend the real estate plat. Mr. Harris.
I'm going to make this really easy. On the left is the plat that this body recommended for approval back in November. And on the right is what's proposed. The difference is that that line I highlighted in red is not there anymore because there's an abandoned utility. So the request is to approve the proposed amended plan because it doesn't have that line, which is an abandoned utility line, and so it should not be there.
I'll move approval.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. There is a second. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right, hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to our last agenda item. Agenda item number 13, there is a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. Seconded. Is there any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Go Pirates.
I was hoping you'd let me do it.
You're always welcome to gavel up.